Cool. My phone is on silent, so we're not gonna.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you on. I'll just have you introduce yourself real quick before we get going.
Hi, my name is Spencer Davidson, also known as Azlan. Nice to be on here.
Thank you for being on here.
Totally.
So we were just talking before we got the camera rolling. All right. You were in rowing.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And then part of OCC and NAW, what's it called?
NAC. So I was at NAC at what I kind of refer to, and a lot of our friends refer to as the Great Time.
Yeah.
So it was from fall of 2005.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost been 20 years. Fall of 2005 until spring of 2009.
Okay.
So that was when West Coast rowing was not as looked upon favorably, especially for junior rowing. So junior rowing was kind of like it was a East Coast sport. It was very like pinky up, like we row with our pinkies up kind of vibe.
Yeah.
West Coast was very like, hey, get in the boat, like we don't care about, like it's just like, if you can row, if you can't.
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking about your coach AJ Brooks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I really hope you send this to him for sure.
Oh, I'll start buying him for sure.
Or if you not, I'll send it to him.
Easy.
Yeah. 100%. But
yeah.
but no, he and I were novices together in the novice team.
Okay.
Yeah. And we basically it was AJ Brooks, JP Hogan, and then our coach Nick D'Antoni, and a bunch of other people that basically made Newport Aquatic Center what it became.
Oh yeah.
And it became a household name in the rowing community.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that we went to Worlds a few years after we started rowing. Yeah.
Okay.
We were like juniors, seniors in high school and stuff like that.
Oh, in high school.
Yeah, I personally was not in the Worlds. That was JP Hogan and AJ, I think he went to Worlds.
Yeah, I remember. I think AJ went to, was it Washington?
He went to Washington. Yeah,
professionally, or
no? He went to Washington, and then he graduated and he came back home and he started working with you. At UCI.
I remember when he came on board.
Yes.
He was part of the varsity team.
Oh yeah. He was well deserved to be on there. I mean, he was doing all of high school. He was Mr. Row.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like for me, like I was into rowing. That was my sport.
Yeah.
But my true love and my passion came from rowing. It was the music.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You remember tests?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like putting in your earpods and listening. And I wanted something that was even heavier than heavy metal. So I was like asking my friends, I was like, hey, what's heavier than heavy metal?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, he gave me a scratch CD. It said Pendulum, Hold Your Color.
Okay.
The first album from Pendulum.
Oh,
you know Pendulum?
Yeah, I know them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I listened to it and it changed my world because I was creating techno and drum and bass and different electronic beats on my computer at my home.
Wait, in high school you were producing?
Yes.
How old were you when you first got your first DAW?
Well, it kind of came. My DAW kind of came to me. It was GarageBand.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like 16 years old,
yeah.
and I was 16 years old around the DAW, and I bought this computer because I wanted to. My parents are not Mac people. They're Dell people.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to convert them, but it's been a long time. But so I worked that whole summer and all of school, and I was walking dogs. I was washing cars. I was vacuuming, doing anything I could, bringing in mail for people that are on travel.
Yeah.
I did everything I could to afford a Mac computer.
Damn.
So I did that, and then when my friend showed me that there was a thing you could make music on, literally just something like deep inside me was just like, I like that. But originally I got it for video editing. So I wanted to be a video editor when I wanted to do I wanted to be a film director when I was a kid. So I was like, I loved all the Star Warses and the the sci-fi stuff, I was all into it. The Jurassic Parks, like, welcome to the Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
and I wanted to do all that. And so, but then I discovered music on it, and now we're here.
So, was that when you started discovering electronic music? Was when you were producing the music, or you already had a background in?
So I was in rowing, and I wanted to, I wanted heavier music to work out to.
Yeah.
So I had friends that showed me this music, drum and bass, and I went deep into it. And I went onto the internet. I found Andy C. I found DJ Randall in like the 90s. I found that right after that I discovered deadmau5, right as his career was like kind of just blossoming with like Faxing Berlin. And so I found this music, and this music helped me get to another state in my rowing. And then and it lit something inside me, because I knew from that moment I wanted to be a part of this industry. I wanted to be a part of the music industry. I wanted to produce this music. I had ideas in my brain ever since I was a kid, like a little child, and this is like what I wanted to, how I wanted to create my art.
Yeah. So it's fascinating how like you kind of got like almost hypnotized. You used it as a tool to help your rowing, but in a sense it was slowly pulling you into this world.
Yeah.
And then, well, I mean, you're here now.
Because it lit a fire because I could just imagine like rowing events where they're just, and actually JP Hogan, he'll tell you that too, because he's a trance guy. He's more of a trance head. So you got, I don't think AJ is into electronic music, but
don't think so.
JP was super into trance music, Above and Beyond, the classics, the classics, the Trance 2.0. So in his brain was the same thing.
Okay.
But for me, it was drum and bass.
Yep.
So I'd be coming to practice blaring drum and bass, like in my car, like, and then be on the water, and just in my brain when you're syncopating. And maybe that was why I was out of time sometimes.
Makes sense.
But all at the cadence. But that music helped me. It helped inspire me, unlock things within my brain. You remember Earth tests? Imagine like the day that we became a team at NEC. The day we became a team wasn't the first day me and AJ joined. It was about a year and a half in when Nick D'Antoni, our coach, said to us, we did our 6K. We did our 6K. For the first of the year. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
okay.
And he goes, okay, we got 3 more.
Oh boy. Oh man.
We got 3 more. You could imagine the wails and the cries and the this and that and the all is lost, and the tunnel vision. And in fact, I was like flipping out. I was like, I gotta quit. I can't do it.
Yeah, no,
I can't do this.
It is a brutal sport to join, dude. It is brutal.
But I did it. Yeah. And now we're here, and I'm talking about the 10 years of rowing that I did, But
that's the thing, the mental fortitude that it builds inside you. Like you can take that anywhere producing, but let's do it, like this grind for hours on end. No pain compares to that.
Festivals in the desert, no problem.
No, yeah, exactly. No. So, okay. So now we're at the stage where, you did quit rowing to pursue music, pretty much like dedicate your time and effort all to that now.
Not exactly. I continued with rowing until all the way through junior college. I went to OCC.
Okay, that's
Orange Coast College.
Yeah.
And that's where we scrimmaged against, UCI and different teams like that. And I remember when, that's cool that you got to experience AJ, because he probably is probably what made UCI kind of get their game together.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So it's like, it's funny. It's like we're talking about sports. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I don't usually talk about sports, but this is interesting. But no, I dedicated my time, and then I went to a school called American University in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Where I then was majoring in audio technology.
Oh.
And that's where I majored in, and I learned how to make records and all that stuff. And I was on the East Coast, and I helped with the rowing club there.
Okay.
I was like head of the rowing club.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I was working with them on different heads, different places, and like Tennessee and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then going to Philadelphia, where we competed and all that jazz, and that was a lot of fun. But at the same time, I was discovering and working and pursuing music all while I was doing school, all I was rowing, and everything. And yeah, that's where we're at.
So were you DJing as well during this time?
You guessed it. Yes,
Yeah.
I was. I started DJing well before even going to college. I started DJing in like warehouses in Costa Mesa.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
Okay.
this was like from the surfing world. So I came from the surfing world and
Yeah.
and the rowing world and surfing world, and I came to I had friends that knew like Volcom and Ruka and like all these warehouses. So they have these big warehouse sales, and then by the end they'd be totally empty, and then we can have a huge party.
Real?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like maybe 17, 18 when we were just packing the room full of people and just blaring the sound system that my friends had, and just that's how we began with and we were doing vinyl records at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 17, okay. And then when you were over in the East Coast, you said, did you still do the same thing?
Yes, sir. So I went to the East Coast because I wanted to expand my audience as a DJ.
Yeah.
And what I did was that like there was nights. This was 2012, so it was right when Skrillex's career and a lot of these big guys' careers were like starting.
Yeah.
And I found people over there that were really linked into the scene. And so we started doing, I was dabbling in house music. That's when I first started kind of dabbling into house music, because I'd done the drum and bass thing, but it was like drum and bass has always been drum and bass. It's always been not a huge genre at the time in the United States. Now it's humongous.
Yeah, because it was more of like a UK.
It was. It's from the UK.
It's from the UK, so it's really popular there.
Yeah, super.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're dabbling in house. How was that? I mean, because this is something that I noticed with my producing because I produce mainly techno. And I've tried to produce house, and each genre does have their own challenges, its own, little quirks that you have to kind of figure out and learn. So at least from you going from drum and bass to house, how was that for you? Were you excited? Were you loving it? Were you like, not really?
Well, who actually helped me out with it was my friend Julian on the East Coast. He was hosting house nights, different places. My friend Julius Jetson. That's what I hope he still goes under that name. Yeah. It's a really dope name, right? Julius Jetson. He was helping me with that genre, and like really he was booking me for different things. I remember I had this side project called Fake Feathers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll come back to that later.
Okay.
But Fake Feathers was my house alias because I wanted it to be a little more fun. Yep. I wanted it to be a little more less serious, because Azlan was still my name. That's in rowing. That's where I got my name.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's where the origin story started from.
Yeah. But more on that later.
Yeah.
Basically, what had happened was that I had a serious alias, and then I wanted something that was a little more fun and playful.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And like, I'll definitely talk about today's modern house space. Mm-hmm. But back then in 2012, it was kind of just beginning with the disclosures, mm-hmm. and the what was it? What's the guy's name? We're riding down the boulevard. You know that song? Yeah, the audience will know, but I don't. He was really good. And then just other like Sam Smith, mm-hmm. with Disclosure. Disclosure was like exploding when I was in DC. I was at their first show ever in the United States.
Damn.
Yes.
Where was that at?
U Street Music Hall.
Oh, fine.
Yeah. And that was when house music, it was getting a refresh, like restart. Mm. The whole genre, it had a lot of soul.
Yeah.
Like the soul was there.
Yeah.
I don't see the soul in house music as much anymore right now.
You know, funny thing, this is a conversation I've definitely had with a good amount of people about how like it's starting to what EDM, house, techno, the core values it held is almost starting to like deviate away from that. It's not what it used to be. So I want to ask you, like, what makes you think that what it is now is causing that? Like, is it just repetitive? People just chugging out the same tunes. It doesn't have that unique originality to it. What do you feel like is being lost or is missing from what it used to be? Is it the audience maybe?
Well, you have a lot of artists, like you got the Fishers of the world.
Yep.
You got the, hey, there's nothing. I'm not speaking bad about any of these artists, by the way, but you have the Dylan Francises.
Yeah.
You have the people that have made kind of like a meme out of certain things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have those artists, and it's made people kind of a little more party to it. Like like now people are just partying all the time at the house stages, and I don't see anyone there. I was at a Bob Moses set at Lightning in a Bottle, LIB.
Okay.
And I was at a Bob Moses set, and that was really dope. My friend Riley took me there, and we were vocalists, different cool music things, but I just feel like everybody there was just party mode. Yeah. That's just like, hey, it was their first festival. Yeah. They're there at the Wuki stage, and it's just a party. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which, hey, that's fine. That you can do that all day. For me, and I've always been like this, I'm about analyzing the music. Yeah. And I don't look at this as like it's not like a trigger party like place for me. For me, it's a place of work, a place of connecting, a place of backstage, a place of that sort of vibe.
There's more depth to it than just, I'm just here to get fucked up and that's it. Yeah, that makes sense, honestly, because like I feel like that, taking it from like an audience standpoint, like everyone just, in my opinion, wants to go there and get fucked up. It's an excuse just to get fucked up. While for me, getting into it, I got into it, I was a late bloomer. I got into it when probably 2017. So I was like 22. During that time, like the community was so much more welcoming. So, I learned a lot about like the plur culture and where where like techno originated from, where house came from. It was a place to help people who were more or less marginalized to go and escape. But now it just seems like the newer generations are kind of losing those core values. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting why. Maybe it's just because there's like a lack of education. But this is kind of why I wanted to have these conversations on Resonate, was, to like bring a little bit of awareness and insight. Hey, like these are people who've been in the scene for so much longer than I have. And I want to see what I can learn and what you guys can like share some insights. So, or at least for now, we've pretty much covered like the early stages of your, career. But before we go any further, the what's it called? Azlan. That name, you said it originated from rowing.
Yeah, that's a very quick story, but long story short is I was lifting a really heavy boat, and I just went like like really loud, and my friend who's we were I think we were freshmen at the time, novice, because that's when I think a freshman is novice, because I was a freshman, right? Yeah. He was like, "You look like that lion," and literally right when the Chronicles of Narnia was coming out.
Oh, okay.
And he goes, "You look like that lion. You're Azlan from the Chronicles of Narnia." And I go, "What is this?" And then I kind of like was like, "What is this Chronicles of Narnia?" I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
And then I realized when I was a little kid, I'd watched the movie from like the 80s, the cartoon. Mm-hmm. If you ever seen it, definitely you'll watch it.
Okay.
It's from the 80s, and it's very like there's been a few different variations of the Chronicles of Narnia, but this was the theatrical release he was talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where it originated from, and I always connected with the name. Except my name is Azlan
Okay.
instead of Asland
Oh,
or
okay.
Aslan as they say in the credits.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So that just stuck with you, and you just carried it into your drum and bass. And this.
and Aslan means lion.
Yeah.
Asland means lion in Turkish, I think.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's where C.S. Lewis got the name, and it's just carried over. The spirit of that story is carried over into, because I love fantasy, I love sci-fi, I love a lot of this stuff, and it's a very easy name to shout, no matter what age you are. You're an old person, you're a screaming girl at a show, you're a random dude who just discovered you. Like, it's super easy to yell, and it's like natural.
Yeah, it sticks.
Yeah.
Like, oh, easily I can remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
I think that's definitely a good thing to have.
So, and I remember, like, you kind of, me getting to know you, you kind of build a story around, Azlan, right? So I don't know if you want to kind of touch base on that, about like, you like to have kind of almost make a story with, with your production, with your music. Does that kind of help you in your music? Like the music you produce, is there a story behind it? Do you kind of like envision something with your productions to help you make the tracks you make now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think of music and the songs that I create as like weaponry.
Okay.
So for instance, did I tell you was I talking to you in Vegas? Remember when we went to the Vegas? When we were in Vegas
Hotel, right?
Hotel, yeah, and we were playing that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I maybe I told you in Vegas, but Aslan is you can read about it, but basically Aslan is a planet where every man, woman, and child have to wear special sunglasses to avoid blindness.
Yeah.
And this is about 1,000 years in the future, a few thousand years in the future. Technology is advanced where sound is used as a weapon.
Remember this now, yeah.
Manipulating synth-like instruments to create projectiles of plasma and dark matter.
I love that.
So that's kind of where we're at with, and then basically I become the best of the Atlanteans, like special forces kind of thing. And so I get, through my experiences, I discover peace and prosperity should be the new direction of our world.
Yeah.
And therefore I was sent, I was stripped of my rank, sent back in time, and exiled to Earth. And now where I'm now here, present day, and I'm helping share my music to, basically I'm promoting peace, but at the same time, every show that I'm doing, there are like negative creatures that are from Azlan that are threatening the people of the planet, and I'm battling them in my DJ sets.
I love that. So was this a story that slowly started to develop over time, and then just kind of built a whole world around your brand, around your name, I
remember I was on a job. I used to be a lifeguard, and I remember there was no one at this pool, and I was lifeguarding a pool at the time, and I looked up at the sun, and I'm like, wow, the sun is so bright. And then I had my sunglasses on, my usual Oakleys, and we got the Versace's on today. We're getting fancy, but basically I was looking and I'm like, it would be really dope if like Azlan was a planet where every man, woman, and child have to wear special sunglasses to, the Guy Fawkes mask.
Yeah.
Remember 5th of November, happy 5th of November, right? So I wanted to kind of implement that into my artistry, being like, hey, everybody at my show gets a pair of glasses.
I'd love that.
So they're all like walking around and like
you just see a sea of people with glasses.
But what I would like to do is like glasses that aren't like quite sunglasses. They're more like the sparkly glasses.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
like
about.
you put those on, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, they're
you know what I mean? And yeah. And so it's like but when in certain visuals in my show, I want there to be like, whoa, that's really scary.
Yeah.
But, that thing is really scary. It's going to destroy us. But like, I'm able to come in and I save the day with my music. And there are really scary parts to the show, and really, really lighthearted parts.
Yeah.
Very like, it's like Lord of the Rings. It's like the really scary parts, really lighthearted, fun, beautiful parts.
Okay.
So that's what I've really tried to mirror in my live show.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about your live show because that's something that you mentioned. Maybe give us a little insight so the audience can know what your live show kind of pertains,
Right.
what you do. Yeah.
So my live show consists of like either two versions, a live show or a DJ set.
Okay.
And live show is me with a Novation Peak, which is a synthesizer, and then I have a KeyStep Pro that I utilize, and I plug in different keys and different arpeggiators a lot.
Okay.
And so a lot of them are transitions from like one song to another.
Yeah.
And sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. I rarely do a live show right now. It's just not really something that I would rather promote my DJ set
Yeah.
with singers and stuff. But anything can be stripped out at any time. I'm very modular. I can add it on. I don't need it on. Hey, if there's room, cool. If there's not, okay, whatever. So, and that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. So at least for now, you said you're kind of not doing the live shows, but can we expect any in the near future?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's
Okay.
that's something that I've been practicing more with Tyler Green, RTG,
Okay.
in the garage. Like I've probably 10 DJ sets of me using those different instruments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's in the works right now. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's all. I don't want to just come out guns blazing then burn out. I want to
Fair.
I want to build up my name and build up my my familiarity.
Okay. At least before we go to the DJ side, I wanted to ask, like, doing live shows, do you feel like it's an extra layer of effort and stress that you, like you said, you burn out on? Does it take out a lot from you doing live sets, or do you feel like it's more engaging, more thrilling to be able to do like a unique set once that you won't get at, like, say, another show?
Well, I can't say that you're going to get about maybe 50% of the same show at other shows, because there are certain times of the show that I want to capitalize on.
Okay.
And then I haven't yet quite fulfilled yet. I would say, like, even just in my soul.
Yeah.
I want more people as more people hear my name and as more people hear what's going on, they will hear those elements of the show. However, I do include brand new tracks in every show that I play, new tracks that I've made, new tracks that my friends have made, whatever. It's a ever-changing, ever-evolving entity. But I would say that, about 50 to 60% of the time you're going to get something that you've kind of heard before, but not really. I mean, was it Rick Rubin said, people remember. You can't quote me on this, but people, did you read his new book, The Creative Way?
No, I haven't.
Or The Creative Path. That's what it is.
Path? Okay.
Yeah, it's a great book. People it's something about remembering, but I forget the quote, but it's about people know what they have heard before. So that's why when you play out like a remix, people go crazy.
Yeah.
Because people have heard.
It's like a nostalgic factor.
Exactly. It's a nostalgia factor. It's like, I heard this song.
Yeah.
Whoa, he did it in a new way.
Yeah.
So
especially when you hear it in a new way, like if I hear remixes of, like, say, a rap song made into a house song, I'm like, oh, this is sick. It's like something that I know but different.
And ever since drum and bass, I mean, I remember one of the first mixes that I ever heard. It was Gold Digger.
No way.
With a DJ Hazard song called Busted.
Okay.
And it was Gold Digger with Busted, and I was blown away because I actually copied the mix for a minute when I was a kid, because I was learning how to mix hip hop with drum and bass. And I still do hip hop with drum and bass to this day. Like, I'll play Missy Elliott with like the latest break track, or I'll play all these different things, and people just I played this show last week, and people were just mind blown, because they're just like, whoa, this is it's familiar, and it's like, it's time to, it's like Get Your Freak On by Missy Elliott, and then it's just like oh, watch this, and people are just like, whoa, I've never heard those sounds before. I'm like good, and
that is awesome.
It used to be, oh, I've never heard those sounds before, you're very weird.
Really? People were more critical of those
Oh,
kinds of things.
well,
Yeah.
we're talking like, you know, and this is another good topic of something that I wanted to kind of just cover is that, advice to it may not be you can cut this at the end if you want to, but basically advice to younger producers, like I never really sort of had similar experiences to a lot of my other friends in high school and college
Okay.
because I was so Peter Parker with like school by day, DJ by night kind of a thing, and like always hustling and always trying to like do certain
Yeah.
things. And I never really focused on like relationships.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of friends,
Yeah.
a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Did I have that like best friend, or did I have that core?
Yeah.
Debatable. Like people were my friends, but
That depth wasn't there. Yeah.
the depth wasn't there. And then it was something that I swept under the rug until I became like somebody. And then you realize that especially nowadays, people are going through a lot of different changes. They're hitting over 30, they're 30 or hitting over 30.
Yeah.
And they are going through things that you could never really predict. Like you could have friends going through like a borderline personality,
Yeah.
bipolar, an untapped version of narcissism that you didn't know was there from since childhood. And when you're sometimes when you love someone, you got to be a stranger.
Yeah. And I can empathize with that, honestly, because sometimes they will be unhealthy to you, and sometimes you do have to look after yourself, honestly, because it's hard to hear and it's a little bit cold to say, but like if they are a burden to your life, then you do have to be kind of distant on how you handle that. Because I feel like you're a very loving and caring guy who looks after his own, but at some point you gotta say, like, I gotta look after myself. And do you feel like that's something that's had to happen recently with you to make yourself?
Yeah,
stronger?
I mean, since you saw me in Vegas, the path was treacherous. That's for sure. The path was a little dark, to be perfectly honest.
During that time, or
After that time. After that time. I was not quite myself in that I was floating between two different worlds. I was floating between the Burning Man, the festival, dance music world of like DJing and all that stuff. And then I had friends that weren't into that world, but they were proud to know me because I was into that world.
Okay.
However, sometimes due to their upbringing or their
way of thinking,
they would criticize me for it, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're sketch," and I'm like,
in what
sketch.
way?
I know.
Yeah.
It's because they've never been to shows. They've never seen me perform. Or they've never, because they're still reverting back to, oh, dance music is weird. It's only for the weirdos and the ravey people and all that stuff.
But yeah, it's a little frustrating for me to hear because like it's such a beautiful world to be a part of, honestly.
Exactly. But you can't negotiate with people that are unwilling to look at it from a different perspective.
Fair. But does it kind of sting a little bit,
No, honestly, because I'm used to it. Well, like, going back to the relationships thing, in high school, I didn't have like girlfriends. I didn't have any relationship like that. I was just purely focused on the music. I didn't have those type of relationships because every girl I talked to, I'd be like, "Hey, I like drum and bass." It would be like, "Oh, thanks, you're really weird. I'm gonna go talk to a guy that's into other popular music." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I kind of, growing up, I kind of had a lot of anger.
Oh, okay.
I had a lot of anger with believing that I was into superior music.
I see.
And so that's what kind of drove me, and the fact that I was rowing and I was doing certain things, I felt superior, and I'd always kind of like just anytime I'd run into somebody who just didn't have that same passion for my music, then I would just be like, okay, whatever, I'll show you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was dark, and I've chosen love instead of darkness because I know what the darkness does to you, and it's not fun.
So at least I'm assuming that your music kind of reflected your emotions during that time. Would you say like your drum and bass kind of emulated that darkness, that anger, that driving passion?
Mm-hmm.
How long did you hold that for? I mean, it sounds like isolation was a part of your life early on, not by choice, but just because people could not understand the world that you were like entering.
It lasted a long time. It lasted until I really started to get success. I really started to prove myself.
Yeah.
And then now, like, I can't. There are certain places I avoid. There's certain places, certain like venues or certain places that I don't go because I just feel like I have a little chip on my shoulder sometimes.
I see.
And I walk around and I'm like, not that I'm gonna like bother you and tell you and be like, hey, how cool I am. No, it's nothing like that. It's just more of like for instance, if like I have a friend who's DJing at some show or like at a venue that's very like, party atmosphere.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to go only because I just don't want to be in that environment that is it's kind of like an environment that's not the healthiest for my mental health.
That's good.
And I'm just kind of like, you like this stuff, you're going to love my stuff, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, if my friend's playing if he's doing his night or whatever, I will still 100% go to support, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not going to like to partake in any party.
Yeah.
Miss.
Yeah. You're there purely for the support.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, and I love those events actually, like sometimes because I know that I'm gonna really keep a clear head and be a be a supportive friend.
Because I feel like at this point stage in your life, you can enjoy the show without needing all of the theatrics. You can go there.
And I did that for years.
Yeah,
I did that for years. I did that for years, and I was never partaking in anything. I was just there for the music. That's it.
Honestly, I think that's fortunate because to some degree, I feel like people like use the music as a avenue of just like excuse to party hard and escape life. Which maybe early on when you're young that it's understandable, but at some point you got to be like, all right, I'm running away from something. This is not about music. This is about something internally that I'm dealing with. So I'm kind of the same way now too, honestly. Like I go to shows, I'll be as sober as a cucumber and I'm just having the time of my life. I don't need anything else. When you find your sound and you find your music, it's just like time flies by, So at least kind of talking about the production side, everyone always talks about finding your sound. I'm pretty sure you've heard it before. So for people to go to an Azlan show, maybe describe your sound a little bit. Just give us an experience of what to expect.
Well, I've been finding my sound for like sometimes like you kind of lose your sound, which is kind of funny to say. You kind of lose it for a minute.
Yeah.
Like for the longest time, ever since I started making music, I wanted to be totally different. I wanted to be not 100% different, but different.
Yeah.
Like probably 80% different.
Okay.
So there's certain frequencies you have to hit. There's certain like key things you got to hit, and there's certain production tools that you have to utilize to make your sound really pop in a club environment.
Yeah.
But for me, it's always been utilizing. I definitely would say that I've called myself a genre namer. I actually coined a term. I was a ghost producer for a few friends of mine, and that's how I have about 50 million streams or so.
That's impressive, honestly.
Yeah, it's
congratulations cool on that for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I coined this sound called minimal bass house.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of those sounds are you know, like the Jaws and the driving Oliver Heldens and
Yep.
the this and the like that's a
Yeah,
you know, just the loud. Mine was more like growl basses, but
Okay.
it was like the bass line was like kind of groovy, and then sometimes the growls would come in,
Yeah.
and you know,
Quick. So I've learned that drum and bass has like a lot of those like growling Reese basses. Do you feel like this minimal bass was influenced by your experience from drum and bass?
100%,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I was making when I met Skrillex in
Hold on, you met Skrillex?
oh yeah, a few times, yeah.
Okay.
Once in first time I met Skrillex, like I was working on, you know, that sort of growly, like
Yeah.
different thing. I was so torn because I would either make house music that was very lighthearted and fun, and then I would make like, you know, heavier. I was getting into dubstep a little bit. I did get into dubstep for a time, but you know, I was also doing drum and bass. But the beat pattern of drum and bass is more difficult than dubstep is. I'm being very honest.
Yeah.
And but I did have several remixes that were on different blogs and stuff when I was in like 2010 or so.
Okay.
That were like really actually coming up in the scene.
Yeah.
And I had one song that it was like 10,000 streams or something like that. But it was before Spotify was actually a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and this was like SoundCloud we're talking about.
Okay.
So it was like I had one, and then I had another that was a Seven Lions remix that I did, and a few others just here or there, and then but I started working. I found a fellow in Washington D.C. that was really a good friend of mine. He was really just the best producer I had ever worked with.
Okay.
Ever.
Was he like a mentor or like collaborator?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, and we worked on like songs, and I had this is like kind of like ideas that I have, and I like work with him on some random things, and at the time, and he was very picky on who he collabed with. I think he's only collabed with like a handful of people, like probably like 3 or 4 different people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was all about Skrillex. Skrillex was like the dude to him.
Okay.
So for me, I just kind of began getting into Skrillex, but then I remember Skrillex was coming to Washington D.C., so I go, "Hey, can we meet him to the person who owns the venue?" And he's like, "Yeah, come in the green room." So I was like, "Okay, cool." Yeah, and that was fun. I have a picture of all of us. It's fun. But yeah, no, I have had several people that have taught me over the last 17 years.
Okay.
And several people, one of them who's unfortunately sadly passed away in 2015, my friend Glenn. And yeah, it's you got to find people, you got to be willing to listen. You got to find people that would love to like show you like what's actually going on in that world.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard. It's kind of hard to find those people now. Like that, like for instance, for me to teach.
Yeah.
Because electronic music, you can teach yourself anything in just a few clicks.
Yeah.
Via like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a situation. Now there's Discord
Yeah.
groups.
There's whole communities.
There's whole communities, Instagram, Facebook, the whole thing. And it's a situation that you kind of run into that it's different now, but if you're open and you're like, hey, like I'd like some help with this, you know, I know people that would gladly help you out. All you got to do is ask.
Is that something you're doing now, like teaching or?
Yeah, I've had a few you know, mentees over the years.
Yeah.
But I pick them very carefully.
Yeah.
Because I want to, you know, there's this one girl, what was her name now? Well, actually her name is Farley. Shout out. She's killing it in the female bass scene for sure.
Yeah.
And that's like a big thing that I want to promote is like women in the electronic music world.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like there's a lot of women out there that are fantastic.
Yeah.
And they're very underappreciated. in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
And I like to promote women, like you saw in Sci-Fighter. Did you see Sci-Fighter 5? We had a all women lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was great.
you know, because women, they try so hard to
Mhm.
do so many different and great things. And like I had a mom who worked, you know, like 9 to 5 when I was growing up every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so both my parents worked.
Mhm.
So I saw the struggle with a lot of women, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s
Mhm.
and stuff. And so now if I meet a girl who's serious about production, serious about being an artist and stuff, I will 100% help them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But guys too, you know what I mean? It's and some guys like that I've noticed are pretty lazy because
Yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, oh sorry, I just want to go home and play video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, honestly, you're right about just finding people. It's good that you're selective because you don't want to waste your time and effort. You know, your time is valuable, so you want to make sure the time you're investing into these students is gonna like pay off. But it's honestly hard to find people who have that raw drive, I call it, you know, who just want this so bad they're willing to like make sacrifices like you have to get there. And I feel like you made a lot of fucking sacrifices to get where you were.
More than I could ever really care to think about or admit, because
Yeah.
it would just you know, kind of lead me down a sad path. But this ain't a pity party.
Yeah, I know. But
You
can
know?
you at least say you're proud of where you are now?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm 100%, and I'm living for my friends that can't live to see
Mm-hmm.
like where we've come. And if I could tell them like where you know, my friend Glenn, if I could tell him where I'm at today,
Yeah.
no doubt my couple of my friends that are still around, they're still making music, would be like, Glenn would be so like blown away.
Nice.
100%.
So like let's talk a little bit now on like where you plan to go. Like 2025 is around the corner. You know, do you have any goals, any like things to look forward to? We can like you know, keep on the horizon, we can keep an eye on.
Yes, more shows,
Yeah.
tons more shows. Talking with my friend Taboo, who I just did the show with last
Yeah.
month. I would like to go to another country.
Oh, and play in
Yeah.
another country.
Yeah, I would like to go to Japan and play there.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, because
That'd be really
I have friends there, and we have ways to make that happen. Even if it's just like one show, I would still like to experience Japan personally.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm very keen on. I almost played a show in the UK one time, but that was I don't remember what happened there, but that was
Yeah.
pretty interesting. But so I've only played in the United States. And but yeah, more shows. I am talking with a fellow who's a friend of a friend, and he is a guy who like basically specializes in Facebook ads, Instagram ads, you know, different things like that. And his pricing is perfect. So it's kind of a, excuse me, it's definitely something I'm considering. Being independent with Sci-Fighter Records, building out the label.
Yeah.
I'm working with shout out the Momentive crew.
Okay.
Yeah, we got some stuff in the works. So that's I can't really say what's going on yet, but
Yeah.
we got stuff. I'm working on stuff with some of their artists, and they're amazing. They're the hottest new underground drum and bass group in LA right now.
Okay.
So that's definitely a group I'm gonna plug you in with.
Yeah.
100%. And yeah, just keeping going, and then yeah, Sci-Fighter Records, more shows, and then yeah, collaborating with other artists.
Great. So maybe to give a little bit of insight for the audience, you mentioned Sci-Fighters. You want to just give us a little like just rundown of who Sci-Fighter is? Because I know you're heavily involved in that. I think the label is your label, right?
Well, it's yeah, me and Tyler's.
Yeah, it's like a joint.
Yeah. I'm just kind of running with it, and
Yeah.
like I'm approving artists.
Yeah.
We just had Taboo just had a release about a month ago
Yeah.
on the label. I have some releases coming up planned for maybe one at the end of the year. I just had a EP release on a smaller label called Lunar Bass just recently.
Are these so Lunar Bass, Sci-Fighters, are they all categorized under a drum and bass label?
Not necessarily. Sci-Fighter's a all genre label.
Okay.
But we've had more drum and bass than anything.
Yeah.
And so what I like to do is like maybe like a compilation. So we do a Sci-Fighter Records compilation with all of our artists, and we have a house house and techno compilation. We have a drum and bass compilation, and just stuff like that that we're working on.
Yeah. So you have releases going on with those. Do you do any self-releases, or do you find labels to do that?
Oh yeah, I do self releases for sure.
Okay.
So I have Sci-Fighter Records, which is my label.
I guess that's a self.
That's I would count that as self release 100%. We don't really we are starting to work with artists with like shares and stuff like that, but in the reality, what we do is that we put it on our website and we say, hey, like this is where we're at, and then the artist keeps the royalties. For the most part right now. And then we're working on as we kind of build a label and we get more notoriety, then we'll talk about getting a symphonic and label engine or something, and then I'll go in and I'll be releasing all those releases.
So you're slowly building up the label.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. So you have a lot of projects outside of just producing music coming out.
100%.
And then, so you want to give a little bit background about Sci-Fighters and the things they do? Obviously I've been a part of Sci-Fighters. I'm going to see, maybe you can give a little bit of insight so that the audience knows.
So I met Tyler in 2016.
Okay.
And he was a lighting guy, and he said, hey, Spencer, I have this show. It's called Sci-Fighter. It's pretty cool. I really like you. You're a cool guy. And I said, yeah, let me check it out. And he's probably the best lighting guy like in the West for sure.
Oh yeah.
100%. And I know for sure he is. Like he's very dedicated. He's extremely talented with his work. He and I met him in about 2016, 17. He did lighting at my birthday party.
Yeah, let's just recap. We had to reset the cameras.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about, sorry, remind me again.
We were talking about next what we were doing next year.
Oh yeah, so we're talking about Sci-Fighters and the things you were planning for next
Sci-Fighter. Yeah.
So Sci-Fighter is your project. What are you and
with
Tyler?
Tyler. Yeah. It's becoming more delegated. We have like Paul or Relentless who's working with us. We have Taboo who's becoming a big hand. We have our friend Robot Sunrise who has a show tomorrow night in downtown LA actually.
Okay.
That's a house show for sure, or techno house show. And yeah, we got a lot of different people that have been there since Chris Beats and Shakes, and a lot of people that have been there since day one, and really have come in to help us with our show. So yeah, we have a lot more hands that we're excited to have on the show.
Yeah, and you guys throw your own events too, like so you have Ray from the Grave, which is out in the desert. And then you had the San Diego one, the takeover. Was that
San DMB? Yeah, we had a takeover there.
Yeah, that one was. I mean, I was looking at the content you were posting. It looked like a blast, honestly. You guys did so well with that one.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
So I mean, because like at least when Sci-Fighter started, it was more of like a desert type event. But are you guys kind of gearing a little bit towards more having events locally now?
Yes, I mean, we still have our show Ray from the Grave.
Yes,
which is kind of like a staple of ours.
Yeah.
Because we love Halloween. It was super epic this year. We want to continue doing that, but now we want to come back into the city. And do more of the city stuff, because I feel like now more than ever. I mean, Halloween was huge this year. I don't know, like
honestly, it was for some reason this specific year.
This specific year, Halloween, people wanted to go out, they wanted to do stuff, and so now because we went to the desert because of COVID. That's why we went to the desert.
Oh, that's right.
That's why we went to the desert, and I'm like, you think this is a good idea? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I was a Boy Scout. I've worked with ex-Green Berets and all these different people up in Alaska, so let's do it. Now I'm an outdoorsy person, so let's go. And it was very outdoorsy, and you get very you get dirty and all the good stuff. But you know, you're able to, you know, I kind of call myself a like a chameleon. I can kind of like transform into any form that, you know, not that I don't believe in my own views. I have very strong views about, you know, like drum and bass and like things that I believe in, but I am able to adapt to my surroundings very easily. So yeah, I can go to the desert, go into the city. I can do whatever kind of show or be in any kind of environment that you would try to want to be in, or you know, if you have to be there, then yeah. But that's another thing, like Burning Man. Like, have you been to Burning Man?
Not yet. I mean, you've been to it, right?
Yes.
You've done it. You've played there?
Played there, yes.
How was that experience?
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that whole experience all on its own.
So I played there with a guy. His name's Jason Page. He's the original singer of the Pokemon song.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I'll have him here on your show if you want him to be.
That would be amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
Come along.
So, well, first off, I was part of a camp. It's called Lumi Dance, and it's my friend Riley Earthwave, and then his partner Cookie, and then we had other artists. More in there's a genre of music called world bass.
World bass.
Yeah, that's like world sounds with like, it's like Closey and like Ellis Dream and like all these different artists and everything.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of artists that were, it's Riley's favorite genre, and you know, like, so we had a talent agent who was working with us, Skycia, a really great guy, Tanner, and he had me perform, I think on Monday. Yeah, it was not quite Tuesday, but it was Monday. He made me perform on Monday. He had me headline on Monday, which I was kind of like, whoa, like, thank you, like, because I'd never met this guy before ever.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, whoa, thank you. He's like, yeah, like you had really good numbers. You were, you know, we were the guy that I wanted to have headline. And I'm like, perfect. So that was no problem. And so the icing on the cake, I was communicating on Instagram with a guy named Jason Page, and the original singer of the Pokemon song.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, Jason, I'm going to be at the Burn. You going to be here this year? He goes, yep. And I'm like, this is my time of when I'm going to perform. So we were 3 hours late, but 30 seconds before I go on, he walks right up to me. And Riley, who runs the sound, he has a very advanced, he has the most sophisticated sound system on the West Coast right now. I don't mean like the best or most advanced, but the most sophisticated. There's a difference, because he knows how to he has a bass boss rig, and he has two Krakens, which are 421 subs that are really, really loud, and you don't want to be near them when they're full power at all. But they're very sophisticated to run like that, and I helped him like build that whole thing. He designed everything. I helped build it. But basically, like, he had the cranking sound system on the Playa.
Yeah.
And Jason then approached me, and Riley goes, you want a microphone? And I'm just say, yeah, let's do it. So Jason plugged in and it was like go, and then I had the Pokemon song just in case Jason came to perform, and yeah, we just went for it, and it was one of the most wild nights ever.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
These sets, I mean, you perform a lot. You do a lot of events. Do you record these events? Is there a place? Is it on SoundCloud where we can listen to your sets? Or
yes, yeah, you can listen to my sets on SoundCloud.
Okay.
It's soundcloud.com/DJ-Azlan, AZLAN. That was an old. My moniker was DJ Azlan when I was 19, 20.
Yeah.
But now it's just Azlan, like the name.
Okay.
I don't know when it changed. I just didn't want to be a DJ anymore. It was I'm an artist. I'm not a like DJ is kind of an outdated term in my opinion.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you're DJ Snake, okay, cool. If you're DJ Fresh, because he is established. All these guys are established.
You're right. Yeah.
But if you come out with like, if you want to be DJ, you're usually DJ to market yourself as a DJ.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you got to like you got a rig and you go out to weddings and stuff. But
I feel like once you become a producer, is you drop the DJ and you just have that. No, that's right. You're right, because like it is two different professions in my point of view, being a producer and being a DJ. You have DJ producers, like we are. So no, you're right. I actually agree with you on that. But you know, um, so you've done a lot. You've done Burning Man. You've played events. I mean, what maybe advice you can give people who are still interested, who are, they've been in the scene and they want to take that extra step forward? What direction would you like maybe give some advice from your experience? 17 years you said?
about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Has it been that long? Oh my gosh.
Something that, you wish you knew getting into this, like you think would have helped you.
You got to play nice and you got to have friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because like your friends, like my friend Emily, she's a she's a killer female bassist.
Mm-hmm.
I forget her Instagram right now, but I'll link her into.
Oh yeah,
if
we'll
we
definitely
clip
add
this
it.
out, if we clip this out,
100%.
she might be great to have. She has a podcast too.
Oh, perfect.
But she's more like bass guitar and,
Okay.
and heavy metal and like
Yeah,
a lot of this stuff, which I think is pretty cool because we see each other in NAMM every single year and we make fun of each other.
I love it.
It's a lot of fun. It's there. I was just like, oh my gosh, like we annoy each other to heck, but I mean,
Yeah.
we're fine with it. So she told me, she goes, Spencer, you chose this industry. You chose this industry, and you have to like understand that what you're doing is like you chose this for a reason, and it was like half like you chose it, it chose you.
Yeah.
You kind of met it halfway.
Mm-hmm.
And your friends are gonna like tell you flat out, like what's going on. And even if they tell you like something that you don't want to hear, you gotta take it as like advice.
Yeah.
Even if you don't take it, you gotta like hear it and be like, hey, I thought about this and what you said, and actually like what you said is like pretty spot on.
Yeah. I mean, have you heard things that you didn't really want to hear, like criticisms that were and weren't constructive?
Yeah, but then I go into I mean I used to think it was all like I was always the problem.
Okay.
Like, oh, it's me, like I'm the problem, it's me.
Yeah.
Like I used to think like, but then now that I'm older, I like understand that people are going through different things in their lives,
Oh,
and the reality, not saying they are, but I'm just saying like their reality could be distorted in a way.
oh yeah.
And their reality is totally different from everybody else's reality.
Mm.
So if I give somebody advice, like I try as hard as I can to put myself inside their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to depending on like their mental health and stuff like that, like I have a lot of friends, they've given me advice and it's tough advice over the years.
Yeah.
But then I realize, like it's they tell me years later, they've told me years later, like, oh, like I was diagnosed with autism.
Oh.
And I'm like, or Asperger's or something.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, that's why they were being so mean. Not that like not like anybody like that is mean, but they're just being straight up. They're being like, hey,
Blunt.
this
Right.
super blunt. This snare is annoying, and it's the most annoying thing ever, and you're annoying. You know what I mean? And it's like, or I would take it as like, oh, I'm annoying because I put the snare in there. I must be annoying. I always thought I was the problem. You know what I mean? And that's okay. I really genuinely take everybody's advice, like for sure.
Yeah.
But you were saying about like, like, well, we started out with like friends, like you got to play nice.
Yeah.
You got to take your friends, because if your friends are your friends, you got to take their advice, at least look at it many times and say, okay, like I'm gonna go this way, or okay, like, you know, maybe they just didn't really understand where I was coming from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, if
And
that makes sense.
no, it does, honestly. And then I want to say, do you feel like being a part of this world, being a part of this community, you've built such a solid group of friends, people you can rely on and trust that have your back, like your own community now,
It shrunk.
in a good or bad way? Like,
Both.
okay.
You know, I've worked with like vocalists and
Yeah.
different people, probably music that you've heard before,
Mm-hmm.
that I you know, on my tracks or independently,
Yeah.
that I had to I had to you know, really came from my ego, and it was something that I had to check myself. It was actually about probably a year ago I had to check myself on it. Was I had a friend who went through a mental health situation, and um they had like they were dealing with like bipolar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I never really understood this person could go through something like that. I always thought I always had a problem, but really this person had unresolved trauma on top of having um this this disability or
Yeah.
this mental health situation.
Yeah.
And it's not a like I would never call any of these people like crazy. It's just because I grew up with a cousin who
Mm.
has a similar situation, but I thought that I could save them.
Oh.
I thought, like, here's me, Azlan, who's
Yeah.
been through the deserts of the Mojave, been all over, you know, the United
Yeah.
States, and done all these shows and performed and worked with artists in Hollywood who had to make the best.
Yeah.
They had to make the best performances, so I was paid to come in and help them out of their mental health funk to get them to do a performance.
Yeah.
And think of it like this. You're walking through I imagine like you're walking through a hallway, and they're at the end of the hallway, and you're looking, there's pictures on the wall, there's different windows into like trauma stories of their life, and you see them like on the ground in a fetal position, and you grab their hand and you're like, hey, let's go back to the light.
Yeah.
That's how I envisioned it.
Yeah.
And some people, like a friend of mine that I never thought I had to deal this with, I do the same thing with her, and scariest trauma I've ever seen. And on top of that, there was something holding her back,
Mm.
and it was having to do with herself.
Yeah.
She was like, it was like I wasn't sure who I wasn't sure who I was dealing with at the time, anytime.
Oh.
And so that cut me deep because I wanted to have like do shows and have experiences with her with my music,
Yeah.
and being like, hey, this is the world we could build.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to cut people like that out because they're not serving you. If they don't want to advance themselves, then that's maybe not somebody that you should deal with at that given time.
Yeah. I mean, it just, not to sound cruel, but it does weigh you down, that kind of energy does rub off on you, and it does carry over into your life. It's like a spillover that it gets exhausting at some point, I'm assuming. So would you say, I've noticed, like we mentioned a couple of times about the mental health, is that something you advocate for, like awareness of mental health, and it seems like you've had a lot of experience in it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't read until I was 14.
Really?
Yeah.
Because dyslexia, or
You hit it right on the head.
Oh, okay.
You know, I've been tested over 50 different times for different, ADHD, ADD. I'm about 10% ADHD.
Okay.
Roped in because it used to be called ADD,
Mhm.
but it's now called just ADHD.
Yeah.
And now they're getting I have friends with autism and
Yeah.
autistic autism and autistic tendencies.
Yeah.
And they've said that anybody with ADHD is also considered autism. Hey, me, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't take any of that as fact. I could see where it correlates. I do know the difference between bipolar, and borderline personality. There's a book. It's called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me.
I Hate You, Don't Leave Me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're dealing with like bipolar or like, narcissistic abuse,
Yeah.
then you can read that book and you can say, hey, like, this is why this person was acting the way they were. And it doesn't obviously, like, it's not like I know, I'm not exactly sure who wrote it. I know a doctor wrote it, but
Yeah.
it's really good in the if you're trying to understand what a little more about the world around you, if that makes sense.
No, that's definitely something I want to look into. Mental health is something I strongly advocate for, in my opinion, because I've had, friends who've gone through it, seen the worst of it, have to dealt with the worst of it. So, no, I'm glad I can have that kind of conversation with someone who kind of understands what, how serious these things can get, but also how much it can affect you personally being around them. Yeah.
Even if you love them.
That's the hard part.
Oh, it's the worst.
That's the hard part, honestly.
I never knew, like, like I've I've only been in like love maybe a handful of times,
Yeah.
but like just like probably on like I can count on like one or two fingers. But if you love that person, you see the struggle that they're going through, you want to try, and that's what I had to heal myself from, was that, going back to like, I wanted to heal them. I wanted to do that. And that's why it killed me on the inside,
see.
because I wanted to, I wanted to be the one that was saving them.
Yeah.
And I had to realize, I said, you know what? It is not a battle that I need to, my friend said, it's not a battle who went through the same thing that I went through.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a battle that you need to fight right now,
Mhm.
and probably ever.
Yeah.
And so that's the choice. We all have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's the choice that I had to make, was to walk away.
And then how do you feel now? Like, do you feel like you've been putting that energy towards yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think once those friendships ended,
Mm-hmm.
and those wanting to help people and to help save people, kind of, it just ended.
Yeah.
I feel like everything's just, it's like a curtain's been lifted and everything has just been like straightforward with my career.
Really?
And I feel like it's almost like a, like, I'm not like super religious, but I know like there's light and dark in this world,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And I know that the darkness tests you when you're trying to become great. And if you ever see Batman Begins?
Yeah.
When Ra's al Ghul's talking to Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
and he goes like, if you attach yourself to an idea, you transcend the man, you become something absolutely totally different, which is legend.
Yeah.
That's like the path. You know what I mean? That's the path that like I personally want to follow.
Yeah.
Am I calling myself that? No, absolutely not.
Yet.
I will. Even if I get there, I have friends that like, they're my true friends, because they're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, Mr. Legend.
Yeah, and I get it.
Okay, Mr. Hotshot, and it's like, it's totally fine, because I know that it's like they're not jealous. They're just putting me in the place where
Yeah.
in the
It's out of
place.
love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm gonna take on my jacket.
Oh yeah, but yeah, go.
But no, it's a situation. It is a situation that where it's all, choosing your friends in this world is crucial,
Yeah.
because there's a huge turnover. As Tyler Green would tell me, there's a huge turnover in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like every 5 minutes, people are dropping like flies.
Oh, I believe it.
Or someone died. Quincy Jones passed away on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace. I was actually pretty beat up about that for a minute. Just because he died that day, but I was for a day, I was really just, I had a good friend named Gary Gray, who he knew Quincy personally.
Wow.
And he would always tell me about him, and actually he I think once he called him, I don't remember because I was so busy on doing what I was working with him, and he was like talking, communicating with Quincy at the time, which was kind of dope. But I was so busy like doing whatever I was doing, but I wanted to eventually meet Quincy one day.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, but I do know a lot of friends that did meet him,
Yeah.
and I'm stoked for him.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stuff. But you know what? Again, there's huge turnover in this industry, and if you can stand the test of time by identifying your weaknesses in your life and your vices and your flaws and your mishaps, you can get yourself into the next level of consciousness, if that makes sense.
No. Trust me. I understand. Great. Well, I mean, we're pretty much wrapping up at the end of the segment. Is there anything you'd like to tell the audience before we wrap up?
No, just
Yeah.
stick around. You can what's your moniker on your for your podcast?
I'm sorry.
Moniker like excuse me, like your at.
Oh, my ad? It's gonna be under the Resonance Instagram.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But I'll be posting the podcast on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Yeah. So Spotify will be under Resonate, and then for the YouTube and SoundCloud will be under the Resonance page.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We'll just keep it locked into
Yeah.
this podcast, and
yeah.
I love what you're doing here, Waleed. I think
Yeah.
it's like absolutely outstanding, and
Oh, we're definitely gonna have you back, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
We
That
want to
would
hear
be-
more about this.
that would be that
Yeah.
would be amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm stoked to where we're going, and it's gonna keep me going. I'm excited to report what's gonna happen next year,
course.
and
Yeah.
I just follow me on Insta. I always post there, and
Yeah, I'll make sure to have all your social Aslan.
Perfect.
For everyone to follow.
Perfect,
And,
dude.
Plus your friends that you mentioned will be all.
Yeah, that'll be me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll link you in, and we'll get this we'll get everything rolling. But
All right, thank you for
Yeah,
coming,
so-
bud.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
All right.